All right, and hey everybody, welcome to Crown Council Live. I am Stuart Anderson. Grateful to have you with us, whether you're joining us live or maybe you're watching this recorded. This is our opportunity to connect with the Crown Council membership, connect with our resource partners, some team members, see what's happening live around the world of Crown Council. So we're grateful that you would join us. We are really looking forward 2 weeks away to our annual event. I actually cannot believe that it's here. It's pretty wild. Really fun, wild ride for us, kind of from November 1st till now to prepare and get things ready. So we're really looking forward to being together, to gathering the Crown Council membership. We're going to be in Frisco, Texas, and we are going to be shipping all 10 pallets down to Frisco next Friday, and then the Crown Council team is going to be leaving next Tuesday. So looking forward to being together at our annual live gathering at the Crown Council annual event. I'm going to share my screen really quick and just share a few things about the annual event that are happening. So here is my screen. Hopefully you can see it okay. Let's see if I can log in real quick. So this is crowncouncil.com. As I log into my portal, this is what my little directory looks like. And yours might look a little different, and that's okay. But here's the tab we want to look at, 30th annual event. And inside the 30th annual event, you will see everything that we have produced for Crown Council members to know and to do before we gather together. So you can see here before the event, most importantly, RSVP forms. If there's any of those that are still hanging out there, obviously we need to see them. There's a lot of things going on that need to be recorded inside the RSVP form, so please get them to us. And then our schedule for what's happening. So during the event, taking a look at how you can prepare and what's going to be going on inside the event is important for the team before you travel. So take a look at it. Know what your day looks like on Thursday. We still have a few spaces available for our Top Golf event Thursday night, which is required. You have to RSVP to join us at that. So if you're looking for something to do Thursday night, we would love to have you there. The Friday, Saturday schedule is pretty set. You'll receive more information and a little more detail when we arrive in Frisco. But this is how we're going to look. I'm going to make a little highlight here. Barbie and Ken Smiles for Life celebration. Come in your best Barbie and Ken outfits. So themed dinner. We're going to celebrate all of the work that's been done through Smiles for Life this past year, and a really fun cover band, Good Vibrations. We're going to play Beach Boys songs, so we're looking forward to that entertainment on Friday night. Saturday night, we're going to have dinner. Black tie, obviously optional, but you can certainly dress up. Very fun to do so, whether it's tuxedos or nice suits. A really fun night Saturday, recognizing team members, doctors, everyone who has made a difference over the past year in Crown Council offices. We're also going to be focusing on the pearl. So the 30th anniversary gem is a pearl. So we're going to be sharing some real fun pearl stories about our members, things that have happened over the last year and even 30 years in offices that is worth sharing and fun to talk about. So really cool. We're praying, triple fingers crossed, toes crossed for good weather. We're golfing Friday or Thursday. So put the weather in your prayers that everything goes smooth when it comes to the weather at the annual event. So just very excited, looking forward to being together and sharing everything that we've planned with each of you. So very good. All right. I think I've stopped sharing my screen. Our first guest is in the waiting room. She's never been on the live stream before, so I'm going to welcome Ashley in from Dental Intelligence. As she comes in, I was telling DJ, our producer, before we started the show, Ashley, you've never been on the show before.
First timer, Stu.
Yes, yes, yes. This is very fun. Ashley from Dental Intelligence. So we're grateful to have you on. Grateful to have you as our first guest. Way to go. Very good. Remind us, Ashley, where are you broadcasting from? Are you in Utah?
Well, my background would say I was, but I got to be honest. I am in the heart of the Midwest in the
Okay.
beautiful Louisville, Kentucky area.
Oh,
So
nice.
this picture is straight from the office, though it's not a fake. I didn't use AI, but I am not physically in Utah, unfortunately.
Okay. Okay. Because I know when I drive I-15, Dental Intelligence office, I see it every time I drive it. So very
So
good.
yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, unfortunately not, but we've got some snow to look at here in Louisville, so we're doing good.
Cool. It was funny over the last couple months as we've um, created our formal, I guess, more formal partnership with Dental Intelligence. I was actually surprised that we weren't already. We've done so much work together, just in general over the years. I was surprised that it wasn't official, that our relationship was not official yet. So this is good.
It's Facebook official now,
This,
so I mean we're
this is
we're all in.
cool. I told Ashley yesterday, when we bring resource partners on, my hope is that this isn't like a, 20-minute. No one wants to join a live stream and be like, "Oh, well, cool, that was a 20-minute sales pitch." So we're gonna no, not, we're gonna talk a little bit about what Ashley knows from the best offices that she works with. So what she sees, what they're doing, and how they're using dental intelligence to make their practice better. So that's kind of the outline of what we're going to do today, what you're going to share. Did you want me to share my screen? Do you want to share your screen?
Sure.
You tell me what you want to do.
You can go for it. You've got the
Okay.
profitability formula. If you've
All
got it ready to roll,
right, I'm ready.
you can jam on that. And I promise this will not be a 20-minute sales pitch because that's no fun for anyone. I
Okay. Can you see it? Okay.
can. Hopefully everyone else can as well. Thanks for pulling that up.
You bet.
This is kind of the basis of dental intelligence. I mean, this isn't a new graphic. We've surely updated it with our new logo over time, but the premise has really been the same, the meat of it. And now that we're in a new calendar year, right, Stu, I'm getting asked left and right this year, hey, Ashley, it's 2025, start of the new year. How can I be more profitable?
Hmm.
What can I do in my practice to essentially, how can I do more with less? Whether that means less marketing spend, fewer staff members, even fewer patients, right? Working smarter, not harder, fewer patients, higher quality patients. How can I make 2025 a success? And I will always, day in and day out, go back to this profitability formula because I believe in it wholeheartedly. There's only a few ways we can grow our practice.
Okay.
And we get asked frequently, hey, we love the data that's in dental intelligence. We use it with our consultant, our marketing company uses it, but how can we at a very basic level use it and grow? And I think this is just a prime premium example of how to do that. Obviously, to grow and become more profitable, you can increase your visits, right? We can get more butts in the seat. We can increase our production per visit. So we could essentially see fewer people, but do higher value cases. Maybe we're bringing in some new things that we've never offered before, or just getting really strategic around things like case acceptance. We can also increase our collection percentage, which is so important, and then reduce our overhead. So that's this formula: visits times production per visit times your collection percentage minus your overhead. That's
Hmm.
going to give you your profits.
Very
So
good.
it's simple, right? We've tried to keep it simple, and occasionally we just publish it with the bold phrases, the visits, the PPV, the collect. But this version that I'm sharing with you and the guests is a little deeper. It's how can I impact those buckets that you've talked about here? And so, working left to right, the goal would be to, if you're not tracking this stuff, start tracking it. Right. I always equate it to a practice I talk to that will tell me, hey, Ashley, I want to do 2 million this year. And I'll say, great, where are we now? Let's talk about what levers we can pull. And often they just don't know. And I
Huh.
equate that to saying, hey, Ashley, I want to go to Vegas and I'm on Google booking a flight. When it asks for that origin city to tell you what flights are available, you're not sure. It's like, am I coming from Miami or Charlotte? Right. And so you have to know where you're at and what's impacting that number to meet your goal. And I say that frequently. We've got in what's the status quo? What are we doing now? What's working really well? What can we
Hmm.
do even stronger that we're really good at now? But then where are the gaps? Where are we lacking? What's suffering in the practice? And unfortunately, far too often practices just they can't articulate that And I come from a dental marketing background, worked very closely with dental intelligence for a very long time. I've been looking at this data and these numbers for the past almost 8 years. So I could do this in my sleep, but it's so fun to watch practices thrive once they start tracking this stuff.
Cool.
And it's not always so easy to do in practice management, right? It's
Right.
hard, it's cumbersome, it's time consuming. Who wants to own it? So we really try to make that simple. But I always say, even when I'm asked, how can I do more with less? Hey, I'm going to cut back my marketing budget. I always say, like, hey, pump the brakes right there. Let's do more of what's working. Yeah, let's cut out things that aren't working. But if you're giving someone $1 and they're giving you 5 in return, let's keep doing that all day long. If you're giving someone $1 and they're giving you a quarter, let's can that, right? And let's track it. And dental intelligence does a really good job of helping them do that, understand how you're treating those patients you're getting, whether they're from referrals, friends, family, marketing referrals. Are you reappointing them? Let's go back to the basics. Are you even answering the phone when they call? First of all, if you're not picking up the phone, you don't even have a chance to appoint them. How is your appointment rate, your reappointment? Are you getting them to say yes to coming back? Are they accepting your treatment at a high rate? Do you need to make tweaks? Are you really good at presenting crown and bridge, but when you talk about an implant or a larger case, it falls through the floorboard? Doctors aren't tracking this that granularly. And I think if they have a tool, of course, I'm a proponent of DI and dental intelligence, but start tracking it any way you can. Even if you have to use a spreadsheet and get into your PMS, which is very cumbersome, it's a start.
Nice.
It's a place to start, or chicken scratch. Get out a piece of paper.
And Ashley, just to get like not granular, but when dental intelligence is in the system, when it's looking at these numbers, can you just talk about that really basic, like the overall 30,000 foot view of dental intelligence when it comes, if somebody out there that's like, oh, I've never worked with you, I don't even know what it is. Can you talk about that for just a second? Like when you enter a practice, what really happens? What are they getting? Can you talk about that for just 1 second?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. That's a great question. I would say, if they've never heard of us, looking at each of those 5 things and 4 under the overhead, but seeing each of those pieces, we're helping with all of that. We're pulling all of these data points. So we sit right on top of practice management software. We pull everything but x-rays. And then we're making it really simple to know what your cancellations, your no-shows look like. So it's data, it's analytics, right? And for a long time, that's really all dental intelligence was in terms of like our focus. And then that evolved obviously with the acquisition of a few organizations over the past 5 years, but full stream now. So now we're saying, here's here's who's overdue, who needs reappointed, who you presented treatment to that hasn't said yes. And then we have the patient communication side that can now go talk to them. Awesome. So when we acquired Modento, that kind of filled in on the back half. Too many offices were like, this is great data. Now what do we do with it?
Right.
So that's the piece, but it all boils down to tracking this stuff and knowing your numbers. And I'm just going to keep going back to my flight analogy. I can't get you to Vegas if you can't tell me where you're starting, what your origin city is. You're never going to get there, right? You've got to start tracking this stuff. So it's fun. It's so fun to watch practices grow once they really grasp this. And sometimes it can be daunting, and offices say, where do I start? I don't even know. We can help with that. Like, here's the basic things that you should be tracking and monitoring and watching. And then as your team gets comfortable, if this is a new concept, slowly add things in to that mix.
Okay, cool. Very good. Okay. Are we done with visits? I don't want to miss anything here.
Okay. No. And this is a free resource. If any of your practices would like this, we can get them a copy. All they need to do is shoot me an email. I can get them a copy of this, but post this in the I have practices that print this out and post it. But production per visit, obviously, you can increase your fees. Reducing that PPO dependency. I'm getting a lot of practices asking me that question lately. Dental intelligence can track, obviously, how many patients you have with each plan, the money it's contributing, so on and so forth. I've already talked about expanding treatment, being able to diagnose at a high rate, increase your case acceptance, know what, how to speak to your patients, right? Those soft skills that may not necessarily be top of mind. And then we've got to collect what we produce. I'm a big fan of being able to say, you're collecting at a high rate. And if you're producing 2 million and you collect 1, sorry, folks, you're a $1 million practice. You're as
Mm.
good as your collection. So increase that collection percentage. You're doing the work, right? That could be as simple as just putting an AR policy into place. A lot of practices don't even have that. Getting our AR policy in place, sharing it with the patients, reducing those AR days, meeting patients where they're at. Paper statements, we've shown time and time again, it can take 2 to 3 times to get in front of them to get them to even acknowledge it. So have an easy way for them to pay. I have, where did it go? On my desk for a very long time, and a statement for an optometrist. And it was such a low, silly amount. Like, obviously, I want them to get their money, but I had no easy way to do it. So I'm a very big proponent of meeting the patients where they're at. It is 2025. We all have cell phones. We all want to do things quick and easy. Don't make it hard, right? So increasing your collection percentage and then reducing your overhead. So establishing a budget, not cutting and canning your marketing. I'm such a big fan of marketing. It works when it works, but you got to track it. And can you reduce the cost of your new patient acquisitions? And just, even if you can't, and you know that a new patient's going to cost you X amount, really important to track that from there on out. Are they reappointing? How much are they investing in the practice? Are you getting them to say yes with that high case acceptance? So those are just some things that I recommend looking at in the practice. And print this out, follow it. You don't need us to do this, although we do make it very simple if you do.
Very cool. Ashley, imagine I'm a new client, right? I've had Dental Intelligence for a couple months, and you are looking at my numbers. And what is the biggest challenge that practices faced when they start receiving all of this information? Like, they've never had it before, and now all of a sudden they've started to receive it. I can imagine it's overwhelming. What kind of advice, how does that work from your perspective, how do you teach a doctor or a team to work with all these numbers?
Great question. It can be very overwhelming. It's a lot, right? If you're going from not tracking to, you're drinking from a fire hose with all this data. We do have a feature called scorecards that I would recommend to in that scenario. And that's where you can decide what's important to you that day and time. So for first quarter in Q1, I'm telling practices, build a Q1 scorecard. And it's more like a custom dashboard in a sense. You're able to tell Dental Intelligence what's important to you in that time period. So if you have a consultant that's really encouraging you to lean into metrics, maybe pick 5 that are really important for you to grow, shift, monitor in Q1. Build them on that scorecard and hone in and focus on them. Because if you try to focus on everything, you're focused on nothing. So the worst thing you can do is come in to Dental Intelligence and try to pull 100 levers at once. It's going to fail. So find your focus, build a scorecard, streamline things. And then, as I mentioned earlier, as time goes on and you're more comfortable and your team's moving and grooving and you're moving and grooving to these points, start adding things in. I think that would be my best advice. Don't try to do it all because it won't work.
Yeah. Great advice. That's awesome. I mean, because I can imagine you're saying, okay, we got to collect better. We have to keep new patients from leaving the practice. There's so many things that could all of a sudden be exposed. Great, excellent advice. If a Crown Council doctor were to come to you and say, Ashley, you see so many practices. I only see my own. What kind of things would you say to a doctor who says, what are the best practices doing that you see, because you see so many of them, and I'm just sitting here focused on my one little practice? Are there 2 or 3 things that you think that the best practices that you work with do?
That's an amazing question. Your timing is so ripe. We just released our benchmarks, and those are amazing because what we do, Stu, is we take 10,000 dental practices across the country and we benchmark them in a variety of different metrics. We show bottom 10%, the average, and the top 10% of practices across the country.
Ooh.
And so doctors can look at that and say, ooh, how am I stacking up? And right, I love them. And then at the same time, there's cases where I loathe them, because if you're not even tracking your own numbers and you're trying to compare yourself to Dr. Stu, that can become problematic. But I'm a really big fan of them, right? You're playing the comparison game really with yourself and your own team. And you're saying, how can we get to this level? But it is nice to know you've got those guardrails to say, wow, the top 10% of practices in the country are at this level. I have confidence and faith in my team. We could get there as well. and here's where the bottom 10 are. And okay, we're average here. And I think we have room for improvement, but really it's all about, don't play the comparison game. I'm not a fan of that, but I do think it puts really nice guardrails in place. And I'm happy to share those benchmarks as well. They just came out for last year. So what we do each year is we compare the last 2 years. So you're going to see all of 24 versus 23. Obviously, we're just a month into 25. So those will come out at the end of 25, but it's a really nice way to just do a little self-check. That's what I call it.
How can we get them? How can we share them? Yes, let's do it. I want to see them.
Yeah. One of two ways. They can email me, abest@dentalintel.com, or I can share them with you, Stu, and have you post them. Would that be easy?
I'll do that. Let's do that.
I'll send you the benchmarks. It's an amazing resource. Just this profitability formula and those benchmarks. This would be a nice little present for anyone who's like, I want to start tracking this stuff and how am I stacking up?
Okay, cool. Should I go to your website real quick? Can we navigate that for just a minute?
Sure, you go for it.
Okay, let's do it. So Dental Intel's website here, someone seeking to connect with you to learn more. Tell me more about that. Where's the best place to go?
Yeah, so there's a few ways. You can click get a demo. You can schedule, let them know you're a part of Crown Council. Okay. So if they call, you're going to want to say you're part of Crown Council because we do have specials for all of our partners. So you'll want to make sure you're letting them know they're part of Crown Council. Or they can email me personally. I do still work as a director of partnerships with some practices. I would love to chat with you if you have questions. Like I said, I've been in this software day in and day out for almost 8 years. So it's fun, it's exciting, and I can pull in my past marketing experience and kind of make it all come together. And that's a simple email. Should be simple, abest@dentalintel.com, but you can always say get a demo and let them know you're part of Crown Council.
That almost feels like a pseudonym, Ashley, like you made that up.
You'll never know, will you? I did have to marry to get that name, Stu. So.
That was awesome.
Hasn't always been that great.
Cool. Anything else? Did we miss anything else you want to talk about?
I don't think so. I really appreciate the opportunity and I admire what Crown Council has done and is continuing to do for our industry. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. With this recorded interview, when we send it out next week, I'll include obviously Ashley's email and a few of the links if you want to connect with her and Dental Intelligence. So thanks, Ashley.
Awesome. Thanks, Stu. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
I love numbers. That is fun. I don't know how you would, I don't know how I'd get away from them. It's so cool to see the ins and outs of things that you might be missing when it comes to all the numbers associated with the practice. So grateful for Dental Intelligence. I know that our practice advisors have used them in the past and still do in the practices that they work with. So very fun to finally connect with them and have them as a resource partner officially. We did something new this week. If you're on the Crown Council email network and reading your emails, which I hope everyone is, we decided to kind of jumpstart our next segment, which is a piece with Dr. Michelle Jorgensen, one of our Crown Council members who's been with us for many years, and talk about some of the things, not all of it, but some of the things that she shares in this little interview that we did. She came out with a new book, a whole health book that we're excited to have. She's going to talk about that a bit and how to get a copy. But on the email network, we asked a few questions that I hope that you participated in and found insightful from the other Crown Council members who also responded and talked about some of the discussion topics that we shared with Dr. Jorgensen. So I'm going to play this interview with her, 21 minutes long. Let me share my sound, share my video, and here comes. There's a little interview. We recorded it. Dr. Jorgensen couldn't meet live, so that's okay. We did a little recorded session, and enjoy. I'll be back after it finishes. Anderson here, joined by Dr. Michelle Jorgensen. All right, hey everybody, welcome to the Crown Council live stream. Stuart Anderson here, joined by Dr. Michelle Jorgensen. Dr. Jorgensen. Hey, how are you?
Great, thank you.
Very cool. We found ourselves in London a couple weeks ago. I mean, at the exact same time. It was so I never get texts from your husband, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Hey, I'm in London." I'm like, "Well, we live like 30 miles apart, but let's connect in London."
Yep, that's the way it works, I guess.
Hey, well, Last week you emailed me with some really fun, exciting news about a new book you've produced. And I know that that is going to be the bulk of our conversation today. What is in it and how it can apply to Crown Council members. But before we go there, can you just give, for people that don't know you, can you give a brief introduction of where you practice, size of your team, and just some general background about yourself?
Yeah, I'm in American Fork, Utah. So I'm in Utah and I've been with the Crown Council for I don't even know how long. A lot of years. A lot of years. It's just been part of our growth trajectory and part of what we do in practice. We have a large practice now. So we have 7 doctors, 50 plus team members
Wow.
across multiple different we're all in one campus. We call it a campus. So we have 3 buildings in the same area. And we provide what I call health-based dentistry. So it's
Wow.
all related to your health and how can dentistry improve or honestly worsen health issues. So that's really the springboard for this book. And it's not just for patients, it's actually for anybody who has a body. So I thought, well, let's actually share this information with Crown Council membership first, if they're interested in talking about these kinds of things with patients, because obviously it helps the practice grow. But second, and perhaps even more important, is personally, what does it do for you? So
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Well, I've even seen some of your ads like on Facebook. You're promoting the book and the system. About 2 years ago, we met and we talked about your approach to health-based dentistry. And at the time, we had a close friend who was suffering from, man, she was just chronically sick. She was obviously low energy. The doctor diagnosed her with some like interesting like polyps or growths up in her nasal canal. And I said, hey, you know what? I just learned from Dr. Jorgensen all about some things that you had just taught on the live stream. And I said, why don't you go get your metal fillings checked and get them removed, see if that's a problem. She gets them removed. And I don't know if she came to you or if she at least followed some of the things that you had taught and took them to her dentist, but absolute transformation for her own personal health when it came to just removing metal fillings from her mouth. So
Awesome.
maybe would you just give a little background behind how that started? I know we talked about it last time, but maybe just a quick synopsis of your personal journey into finding this avenue of dentistry. Is that okay?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a general dentist and was practicing for about a decade, about 10 years, and I started having some pretty significant health challenges. Some of them you write off as just normal. You say, oh, everybody has gut problems, so I'm no different than anyone else. And everybody has, brain fog, and that's no different. But it started getting much more than just normal. I really literally couldn't remember anything. And the big one was numbness in my hands. I had such numbness, I couldn't
Wow.
hold instruments anymore. I couldn't change burrs out. For those of you who are dentists and know what I'm talking about, my assistant would have to switch out burrs and hand pieces. And so I ended up putting the practice for sale. Didn't know what I was going to do. I was in my mid 30s, 4 young kids. My husband works for the practice as well. This was our entire livelihood. So here our life was falling apart, and it wasn't something we expected at all. And finally, through a lot of searching, I found out that it was mercury poisoning, because I'd been a cosmetic dentist focused on removing all those mercury amalgam fillings, breathing it all in. And I've since learned I'm genetically susceptible to not detoxing, not dumping things very easily, but a lot of us are. It's about 30 to 40% of the population is. And I couldn't get rid of it. So that mercury was literally poisoning every single cell in my body. So I had to learn how to do dentistry in a different way if I was going to keep doing it. So my transformation honestly was for me. It was for me to continue doing the dentistry, but then I realized this was for patients too. And we started doing things in a different way. And that took off like wildfire, because people are very interested in health now. I like to say that health is the new beauty, where everything used to be about beauty before, now it's all about health. And
True.
honestly, one of the very best things I think we as dentists can do is to join the conversation that's being had. I mean, there are literally the last 2 days, there have been huge articles released. One was on, food dyes.
Right.
Just yesterday, FDA banned, red dye. And the day before, there was a huge lawsuit by a bunch of parents against the large toothpaste manufacturers, Procter & Gamble, Colgate, for false advertising for children and fluoride tooth care products. Well, guess what you can do? You join the conversation. You join the conversation and say, wow, I have something to say about this, and I am an expert. And so I'm the one that, you should look to for answers and explanation. And anyway, that's just how I feel we can really become relevant in today's health focused world.
Yeah, very cool. I mean, and if you've joined any of the recent TOPS or total immersion courses, there is a transformation about that where it's like, listen, there's a person attached to these teeth. There's an actual body and an actual living, healthy thing that is attached to the mouth that you're working on. So I know that phrase has been used quite a lot, which is it's not about the teeth. And that is interesting. I mean, the teeth are just one part of it as we continue to see patients multiple times a year to check their health. Is kind of like the front. I don't see anybody as much as I see my dentist. Like that's the person I see like 2 or 3 times a year.
I say that all the time. I say as
Yeah.
dentists, we honestly have a responsibility, but also an opportunity because people see us routinely. When do you see your do you see your doctor every 2 years, every 6 months?
No.
Nobody does. Nobody sees a doctor every 6 months. They go when they have to, if they have to.
Yeah.
So we see people on a preventative basis more than any other healthcare provider. So like I said, I think we have a responsibility, but we also have a huge opportunity to join the conversation.
Nice. Okay, well, thanks for leading us. Can we talk about the book? What's
Yes.
new? What is it? What is it? How is it new? What's different in it? And you want to just talk about how it was created and what you brought to it? Okay.
Yep. So really, I've talked a lot about my story about how I got sick. That's something I've been talking about on podcasts, on everywhere, for probably almost upwards of 10 years now. I wrote a book about dentistry, and that was really my story for a long time. And finally, I realized, you know what? I need to talk about how I got better. How did I get better? How did things improve for me? Because honestly, all of our bodies operate in a similar way. So if I can share that, then I can hopefully create a model of wellness. And what does that look like for everyone? And when I was really ill, first thing that happened is I became really, I started questioning Western medicine, Western dentistry, the kind of stuff that we've all been trained to do, because it hadn't kept me well and it hadn't helped me return to wellness. I was really sick and nobody had answers for me inside of that Western model. So I really started questioning it. So I started looking everywhere else, at Ayurveda from India, at Chinese traditional medicine, at German herbalism, and Native American medicine. I started studying all of these different medical philosophies. And what I realized is a couple of things. Number one, they actually knew a lot of things. Like they knew a lot of things, and they helped people stay well for centuries. And we've really discounted a lot of what they knew, which I think is not a smart thing. Why did we have to swap one for the other? Why couldn't we just combine one with the other and make it, make what they used to know better with our new scientific advancements? So that was my first realization. The second realization is they honestly were talking about the same thing. Most of these traditions kind of were saying the same thing. They were just using different languages, different words, different frameworks, but they all were centered around the earth seasons, and the earth's elements. So all of these things, they equate bodies to things like fire and earth and water and air. And so I thought, gosh, they're all saying the same thing. Certainly there's a way to put this into a model that's understandable for everyone. So as I went through this and started applying all these things to my life, what I realized is there's really a foundational piece that people don't understand, but we should understand this in today's world. And that is this elusive concept of energy. Who do you know anybody who says, yeah, I have plenty of energy. I would never want more. Nobody that says, I never would drink coffee, or I would never drink a Red Bull, or, because I have plenty of energy, more than I need. In fact, nobody's saying that. So if we really look at what does it take a body to get more energy, and we're talking to a bunch of high performers on this call, a bunch of people who need energy because they're changing the world in their own little individual world, in their own corner of the world. What does it take to get more energy? We have to back it down to even what is energy. And this is where people start to cross their eyes at me and go, oh, you're going to talk about that energy stuff, that crazy stuff. Yeah, so this is when I challenge you and I say, all right, so if you're hooked up to an EKG and you hear the beep, 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 what is it measuring?
Yeah, heartbeat.
The heart energy. It is measuring the electrical flow in your heart. When you are hooked up to an EEG and they're seeing is your brain still alive, what are they measuring? The electrical flow in your brain. And when those two things stop, when your heart stops and when your brain stops, what happens?
You die.
You die. Correct. So guess what? our bodies are electric.
Yeah.
And when the electricity stops flowing, we die. So I back it up and say, honestly, it doesn't matter whether we use Western medicine or Eastern medicine. None of that matters. All that matters is what does it take to keep that energy flowing? And that all comes down to the cells. Because our cells keep us well. So this is another thing I challenge people with. All right, so let's say you cut your finger.
Okay.
And you put a Band-Aid on it. Does the Band-Aid do the healing?
No.
No. My granddaughter thinks the answer is yes. Don't tell her differently.
I'm glad I didn't say yes.
Exactly. But the Band-Aid doesn't heal. Your body heals.
Yeah.
We as dentists know this. Like, honestly, we don't heal anyone either. The body has to do the work. We might plug a filling in a hole. We might take a tooth out. But we can't go in and rebuild the bone. We can't we can't do any of that. The body has to do the work. And the cells are the bodies. Basically, that's the source of all of this work in the body is the cells, is all of our cells. So the real question we should be asking is, what do our cells need?
Yeah.
And how can we give them that unlimited energy that we all are searching for? Because our cells run everything.
Yeah.
So I went back to all of these traditional philosophies and I said, okay, so what do cells need?
Okay.
And I found out that honestly, every cell needs the same 4 things. And if we can keep one cell well, we can keep every cell well.
Okay.
So what do cells need? They need supplies. Cells are just like us, because they are us. If you haven't noticed, we're like made of 37 trillion cells. We're like a bag of cells. So everything we need, our cells need. They need supplies, which is food, oxygen, water. They need those things. They need support, meaning they need the right environment to live in. They need us to be able to dump the trash, to get all the trash out of here. They need the right temperature. That's the support they need. They need security. Right? They need protection. They need to not be bombarded by bacteria, by viruses, by red dyes, whatever it might be, on a day in and day out basis. They need a little protection, some security, and they need signals. And that's the one people are like, what the heck do you mean by that? It's the same like in our world. If the internet goes out, all heck breaks loose, right? Because we can't communicate anymore. Same thing in the body. If the cells aren't able to communicate with one another, things don't operate like they should.
Okay.
So here's the super cool part. Everything that cells need, all those 4 things, literally come from the earth. From plants, from the earth itself, from fire, from water and air. So the 5 elements of the earth. So this goes back to all of those traditional medical systems. And now people are always like, okay, but this is like super great. I love these ideas, it makes sense, whatever. Now what the heck do I do with this, right?
Okay.
So we know as dentists that a lot of times the symptoms are the first step in telling us what we need to do, right? So if somebody comes into our office and they say, I have a toothache, well, we don't just give them some ibuprofen and say, okay, well, let's just make that toothache feel better.
Right.
We know to do something about it, right?
Right.
That symptom is the sign that a cell is struggling. The tooth cell is struggling in that situation. The nerve cells are struggling in that situation. So we don't just quiet the symptom. We actually listen to it and pay attention to it. So I came up with a symptom assessment where you plug your symptoms in and it puts you in a season. Why a season? So let's say that you tell me, I am just really sluggish. Like I wake up in the morning and things just aren't moving. My brain kind of feels sluggish. Like I just don't feel great. I'm a little impatient. I'm moody. I don't know what's going on. And if you put those symptoms into this assessment, it's going to say your liver and gallbladder are the cells that need help first. And that correlates with the season of spring, because spring is all about clearing things out and new and refreshing and starting over. So now if I tell you you're in a spring, because if I just say your liver gallbladder is kind of in trouble, you're like, okay, now what do I do? I don't know what to do for my liver and my gallbladder. What do I do about this? So I say, you're in spring. So what do we eat in spring? Lots of spring greens, lots of things that actually, interestingly enough, detox your liver and your gallbladder, help things move. In springtime, it's just warming up. So we're not going to be running a marathon in springtime. So your body actually needs some brisk walking. We just need to get outside, get in that spring air. We need to breathe a lot. We need to do some deep breathing exercises. Guess what your liver and gallbladder need? All the things I just described. Those kinds of foods, those kinds of movements.
Cool.
So what it does is it gives you a season to start in, which then dictates which cells need the help. And then I tell you exactly what to do for those cells. So it's simplifying down all of these traditional medical practices down to, what do I do about it? I want this energy. I want every single cell in my body to be performing at its utmost potential. So how do I do this? The other cool part about this is I talk a ton about dentistry in an odd way in this book.
Okay.
I talk a ton about it because I talk about how you cannot support your cells properly if they're bogged down by toxins, things like mercury in fillings. I share my story. Things like fluoride. This might be controversial, but go do the research on your own right now and go learn a few things about this. I talk about fluoride and how it could be actually a problem for cells. I talk about if you're not getting enough air. Air is one of the massive needed elements. Actually, oxygen is used by your cell's mitochondria, what I call just like the powerhouse. It's used by your mitochondria to create energy. So if you're not getting enough oxygen, you don't have energy, period. So how many of our patients walk in the door like, I'm so tired, when we can do something about it. We can help with their breathing and airway. So there's a ton of tie back to dentistry with all of these things. Dentistry is an answer for a lot of things, which is really pretty cool again, because I can put all my, all my eggs in the same basket here. I can say, hey, yeah, I have some answers for you inside of dentistry in order to get this unlimited energy, this help that you need. So that's really the summary of it. Is we're asking the wrong question. We're asking which medicine works, but which medicine, every single medicine is just a Band-Aid. Right. Every bit of medicine is just simply there to support your cells. So the right question is, what do my cells need? And I've given you an opportunity to figure out what cells need the help and what do they actually need.
Oh, I love it. That's very cool. I want to read it. Where do I read it? What do we do? How do I do?
So
What's what's next? Can I navigate?
livingwellbook.com.
Living Well.
And thank you for asking, because this is an interesting thing. The book publishers, booksellers, they all look at pre-orders for books as whether there's interest in the book or not. So pre-orders are absolutely imperative if we want to get these topics that we are fascinated with and we are sharing with our patients. If we want to get them more mainstream, we need booksellers and book publishers to say, this is something that people actually want to know about. So if you could pre-order, I would so appreciate it. livingwellbook.com. But here's the cool thing. You go there now. You don't get the book now. The book's out May 20th, but you get the season's assessment that I just talked about, as well as a first steps guide. So you plug your information, you go order it, go to that site. It tells you how to order. Then you go back to the site, plug in your info. You're going to get the season's assessment for free. It's a digital assessment. And then you are going to get, there it is. Yep. And then you are going to get the, so if you scroll down there, you're going to see step 1, order. Step 2, come back and put your stuff in here. And then you're going to get that free season's assessment as well as a first steps guide. Meaning if I tell you you're in a spring, or if your assessment says you're in a spring, what are you going to do about it? It's going to walk you through what you're going to do about it. The book's going to give you even more, but this is going to get you started on the pathway to figuring out how to give your cells and your body what they need.
This is a great part about this message to Dr. Jorgensen. When you talk about this, all the profits. Yes.
So all the profits from this book are actually going to charity. I was told that that's what I'm supposed to do. So I said, okay, that's what I'm supposed to do. Not by anybody here, somebody else that I listen to a lot. I was told that this is not about me and this is not about money. This is about sharing this message, because this message is actually my mission. My mission is to help people live well. And in order to live well, you actually have to be able to maximize your own potential. And you need energy to do that. So this is about me helping all of you live your own mission and your own potential as well. So every single dollar is going to charity. These charities support the earth, water, air. So there are things like regenerative agriculture, like clean water in places that don't have clean water. So these are charities that do that. But for Crown Council members, if you put on that form that you heard about it from Crown Council, we will donate all the charity from the profits from your sales to Smiles for Life. So that's also a charity that we're going to be benefiting through this book sale.
I love it. We should all do this. This is great. This is so fun. I'm gonna, as soon as we finish, I'm gonna pre-order mine, and I'm actually excited to take my test.
Yeah. Yep. Go take your test and go see what season you're in.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Let's have a follow-up. I mean, let's say a couple months, 6 months or so. I'd love to hear how this is going and Especially
Awesome.
I'm really interested in, a lot of Crown Council members have extracurricular. You are like a leader, a mentor amongst the docs who are doing more than just dentistry, and it's really fun to watch. I'd love to have you on next time to talk about how you manage the practice, but also like how are you writing a book and speaking and doing all of these other things that are outside of just the normal practice? I'd love to hear how you balance and manage all of that.
I'd love to share because honestly, it's been a very, very much a learning journey, but I figured a few things out. So
Yeah, I
I'd
bet.
love to share.
Okay, cool. Okay, Dr. Jorgensen, thank you. I'm excited to share this with the Crown Council, and I appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
All right, I will include the link to the book. I wish my video would have showed her screen. I think I picked the wrong video. I was sharing my screen with her, which showed the book and the site on Amazon, but you can definitely find the book on Amazon and pre-order it. So looking forward to reading it and getting it when it comes out. So thank you, Dr. Jorgensen, for sharing and being willing to be a mentor and example and leader to the group. That's all I have for today's live stream. So we're going to end 15 minutes early, but grateful for everybody that joined. Thankful for those that watched this recorded, and we're so excited to be together at the annual event. Can't wait to gather the rest of the group. So thanks for joining us today. Have a great day. Thanks.